Rule number 1. During quiet hours 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., absolute silence is mandatory. Not a sound, not a breath. Even a whisper can be heard, and what hears responds. My name is Sarah. And that rule, that was the one that changed my life forever. The moment I read it, I had no idea. No idea what I was truly getting myself into. You see, that was just the beginning. I'd just moved into apartment 4B. It was a charming old building, just a few blocks from my new job. A little dusty maybe, but the rent was cheap and the neighbors seemed quiet. The first thing I found taped to my door wasn't a welcome note, but a simple printed sheet titled Building Rules and Quiet Hours. I laughed. Quiet hours, sure. Probably for college kids. The top part had normal things. Don't leave trash in the hall. Keep shared spaces clean. Then below that, bolded, was the section on quiet hours. I glanced at rule number 1 and shrugged. Standard stuff. But as I read on, the other quiet hour rules started to feel off. They weren't about noise complaints. They were about not making any noise at all, and about what happens if you do. Rule number 2. Between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., never, under any circumstances, look through your peephole. Even if you hear something, especially if you hear something that sounds familiar. I chuckled. Seriously? Who writes these? I pinned the sheet to my fridge, thinking it was a quirky joke from a strict landlord. But that night, as 11 p.m. approached, I found myself turning down the TV a bit lower than usual. Just in case. Later, I was half asleep when I heard it. A faint thump, scrape from the hallway. It sounded like something heavy being dragged slowly down the hall. My first instinct was to jump up, look through the peephole. But rule number 2 popped into my head. I hesitated. Curiosity warred with a strange prickling unease. I lay there, heart pounding, listening to the horrifying dragging sound grow fainter until it finally stopped. I didn't look, and I certainly didn't sleep much after that. The next morning, the hallway was spotless. Not a mark, no sign of whatever had been dragged. I started to wonder if I'd dreamed it. But then I saw Mrs. Davies, the elderly lady from 4A, rushing past me without her usual cheerful greeting. Her eyes were wide and she looked terrified. She clutched a similar quiet hours sheet in her hand, crumpled. She had been listening too. The rules weren't a joke. Rule number 3. If you hear scratching at your door between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., do not move. Do not breathe too loudly. Pretend you are deeply asleep. It will eventually leave if it believes the apartment is empty. That night, the scratching started. It wasn't gentle. It was rhythmic, sharp, like long nails on wood. It began at my door, then moved down to 4A, then 4C. I was frozen under my covers, eyes squeezed shut, trying to regulate my breathing. It went on for what felt like an hour. When it finally stopped, the silence that followed felt heavier than any noise. A few days later, Mrs. Davies was gone. Her door was open, an eviction notice tacked crookedly to it. But her things were still inside. All of them, just Mrs. Davies wasn't. Rule number 4. Never ever answer a knock or a doorbell between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. No matter who it sounds like. No matter what they say. They are not who they claim to be. I was living by the rulebook now. My nights were spent in a terrifying silence, every creak of the building an agony. I'd jump at the slightest sound, then freeze, listening. The phone ringing late at night made me flinch, but I let it go to voicemail. I muted all my devices. Then came the voice, soft, whispering my name from just outside my door. It sounded exactly like my sister. Sarah, are you there? I need help, please let me in. Rule number 5. If you hear your name called from the hallway between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., do not respond. Do not move, do not make eye contact with the peephole. It is not who you think it is. It wants to know if you're awake. My heart hammered against my ribs. I wanted to scream, to run, but I stayed still, pressed against the wall, tears silently streaming down my face. The voice repeated my name, growing more desperate, more insistent, more like my sister. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood just to stop myself from answering. It eventually faded. I knew it wasn't her. My sister lived 3 states away. The fear was a constant companion. Sleep was a luxury I barely afforded myself. I started looking up the building's history, but there was nothing unusual. No reported disappearances, no strange incidents. It was as if the quiet hours were a secret only shared by the doomed tenants and the thing that enforced them. Then I found an old newspaper clipping tucked behind a loose brick in the building's lobby. It talked about a previous superintendent who had gone missing years ago. His name was Mr. Blackwood. And scribbled on the back of the clipping in shaky handwriting was an additional rule, one that wasn't in my copy of the rulebook. Rule number 6, you can try to leave. You can try to tell others. But once you've heard the whispers, once you've felt the scratch, once you've recognized the voice, you are bound to the quiet hours. You are its new keeper. The words chilled me to the bone. You are its new keeper. Mr. Blackwood hadn't just gone missing, he had been trapped. Just like Mrs. Davies, just like me. The rules weren't just warnings, they were a contract. My life became a prisoner of the clock. Every night the building came alive with the sounds that wanted me to break the rules. The dragging, the scratching. The soft, sweet voice of my mother. Then my best friend, calling my name, begging me to let them in. The doorbell would ring in frantic bursts, then slow, agonizing chimes. One night, the noise was overwhelming. It sounded like a party. Laughter, music, happy voices from the hallway. My own apartment door creaked open slightly. A sliver of light. Rule number 7, between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., you must never, under any circumstances, leave your apartment. If your door opens, do not look out. Do not step out. What's out there wants you to join the party. I fought against an invisible pull towards the open door, towards the sound of fun, towards escape. My heart pounded, sweat dripped down my face. I could hear whispers in the party noise, clearer now, calling my name, promising warmth and safety. I dug my nails into my palms, forcing myself to stay put. The sounds grew louder, more inviting, then suddenly monstrously distorted. The soft, happy music turned into a screech, the laughter into a guttural shriek. The light from the hallway became an unnatural, pulsating red. My door slammed shut. The screams lasted for a few more moments, then silence. Absolute, heavy silence. The next morning, the hallway was quiet. The other tenants' doors were all closed. But taped neatly to my apartment door was a freshly printed sheet of paper. My own handwriting, and at the top, clearly written, were the words, "The Quiet Hours Rulebook."